Welcome to the Best by the Worst. The best movies of all time, reviewed by the worst possible critics. If you don't believe us, keep listening to find out. Welcome back to the Barrett podcast.
You just had to do it, didn't you?
I did.
Barrett, do you know what I have here?
No, what? Tell me what you have. This is the first time ever
Hang on, let me just pull this. So
we've had separate beers.
I'd say about 2 months ago now, maybe slightly less. Our pal Josh, who's been on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
Who wants to get back on the podcast, by the way?
Yeah, we can have him back.
He needed a TV, can't remember why or what sparked the conversation. And I just so happened to have a spare TV sitting in my shed doing nothing. And
Must be nice.
Says the guy with a 65-inch TV behind him. 75? It's huge.
We'll go 65.
Wow, isn't it kind of funny that both our beers kind of look similar, but they're different? Anyway, so he needed a TV, so I had this spare 55-inch sitting in the shed. Thought, oh, look, just have it, Josh. It's doing nothing, just take it. And he did, came over, grabbed it, and he appreciated that. And so he'd bought a 4-pack of these beers. Rocky Ridge, part of the 7 Deadly Sins beer releases that they did.
Yes, yep.
And this is one that I hadn't tried, and it was the Envy Hazy Double IPA, 8.5%. Look at that can. Insane. Just because I had some of the others, but not all of them, but he was like on a path, because, you know, Josh, he loves beers. So he wanted to try them all. And
yes.
So he got a 4-pack of these. He ordered them from Rocky Ridge, because we both hadn't tried it, or maybe he did and he really liked it. I can't remember. And he put 2 aside for me for giving him the TV. But fun fact, I've only got 1 can.
What happened to the other one?
He drank it.
Classic Josh.
So, because, you know, and we'll get to this in a second, we haven't done a podcast in a while, and, you know, me and Josh thought we were going to be making a splinter, side hustle podcast that never happened because, I don't know, we just got tied up with other shit. And then he ended up getting drunk and drinking one of my beers.
Classic Josh.
Yes. So, I'm going to try this now.
I'm keen. I want to have a taste.
What do you have? What do you have first?
You can try your beer. I have Freestyle Brewing. So another Perth brewery. And this is called Moon Safari, and it's a double hazy IPA.
Oh, man, that's good.
Can I have a taste?
Hang on.
Oh my god! I'm just gonna drink my own beer.
No, okay. Don't ruin your taste buds. Try this beer. That is sensational.
Well, that is pretty good.
That's damn good.
Will
right?
might be a bit better.
No, it can't be. This is too good.
You're right. It's not better, but it's not far off. Let's try this.
That's insane.
You're too scared to try this now, aren't you?
I don't want it to ruin what I'm experiencing here.
Freestyle Brewing have done a fantastic job here. You didn't even taste it.
Don't need to.
So, Freestyle, if you want to be a sponsor after that, amazing.
Hang on. Part of Alex's new podcast is
God.
less waffling, all right, with guests like Barrett. So, straight into it. Let's just get some cards out on the table. We've been gone a while.
Yeah.
Why have we been gone a while, Barrett? Why have we been gone a while, Barrett?
I got sick, lost my voice.
Hang on. I'm not letting you get away with this. Okay, so what really happened?
What have I got away with?
What really happened is
here we go.
Barrett fled the country and went on holidays with his wife for some nonsense for what felt like 3 months.
Yes.
I'm going to go with 3 months.
Sounds like having withdrawal symptoms from me.
Yep, 3 months.
Yep.
Then you came back. We thought, great, let's immediately do a podcast.
Yes.
I got sick.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's 1 week.
Yeah.
All right. I got sick, to go to work, ruined our free time, right?
Yes.
Then you got sick.
Yes. Lost my voice. Yep.
Then you got sick again.
Yes. That was 2 sicknesses. One was a fever, and one was a horrible cough.
Yep.
Lost my voice.
And now I've gotten sick again. I've got whatever cough that you had, I've contracted. So if I carry the 1 minus the 4, square root of 0, Barrett's fault.
My My fault.
Yeah, that's what the math said.
Right, okay. Even though we're both sick equal amount of times.
Yeah, but I didn't disappear on holidays for 3 months.
I didn't take a job where I have to go to the middle of Australia.
My plan was
the middle of every week.
Well,
we used to record on a Wednesday night, and you're not home on Wednesdays anymore.
well, yeah, because now I only do a few days on site because I wanted to be home more for you, not for the podcast, but so that I'd be physically near you when you needed me.
So you can get sick.
Yeah, apparently.
All right.
That explains all the missing time in the podcasts. We didn't break up. We didn't stop doing the podcasts. Boy, we've just had a terrible run the last few months. So the plan is to get back on track. But admittedly, we've realised kind of how busy our lives are and some other events that we're planning. We've got other trips that we've got going on that we're both going to be part of, and weddings in different states. And so we have to acknowledge that we're probably not going to be able to produce every week.
Yeah.
I think of it kind of like last week tonight with John Oliver. That guy, he's in such a rhythm now. He just does like a couple of weeks here. He says he'll be back in a couple of weeks over there. Comes back for 4 weeks, does the same thing. I think we do the same. We don't have to stick to a strict deadline. I mean, I can count our viewers on one hand. So I think
all
they'll
of them
forgive us.
complained that we were gone.
I know, but it's easy to explain to 5 people. If I had 5 million people to explain it to, that'd be different.
All right.
Okay?
We also talked about something else before we started recording.
Oh, yeah?
And that was the fact that we cannot waffle in this episode because this movie is ridiculously long. We need to come up with a signal to shut each other up.
Okay.
I think it should just be shut up. it might come across as harsh.
Now, I got a better idea.
Okay.
We've got 2 cans here.
Yes.
If I'm waffling, you just go like that. If you're waffling, you go like that.
Okay. Perfect.
All right? Because we've already waffled for like 10 minutes now explaining everything. So we're going to get straight into this movie. What was this movie called?
The Best Years of Our Lives. Don't give me this. I'm referring to the can as the gong now. Don't give me the gong 2 seconds in. All right. 1946 winner of Best Picture, The Best Years of Our Lives.
I really hope you can hear that too in the recording.
100%.
Ah, perfect.
I can hear everything. Every time you bang the table, every time someone does this, that'll be so loud.
Hang on.
Just scratched.
When have I ever banged the table?
Every time you talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Every second word. You
Man,
just
that
put so
beer
much
is
pressure.
good.
My beer is also fantastic.
Josh, you were right about this beer.
All right.
You're wrong about everything else, but you're right about the beer.
Budget.
You've been dinged the wrong can. You got to do my can, remember?
Shut up.
You told yourself to shut up.
Shut up more. Budget. $3 million or $48 million in today's money.
Wild, because there was really no money spent in this movie, but okay.
I'm really starting to see the inflation calculator take off through this year. So
Yeah.
If you hear any planes go over as well, it's because the Perth airport's using the secondary runway.
Oh, I thought it was the Russians.
Yep. All right. Everyone's dead from the movie. The youngest son, Al's youngest son, who we'll get to who Al is in a minute.
Yep.
His son, the actor for him, only died in 2020. So not too long ago. The plot for the movie, 3 men return from World War II, and it follows their post-war life.
It does.
Yes.
That's really the movie, and unfortunately, it took 3 hours to explain it. But regrettably, both those words, maybe. Anyway,
Smash them together. Begrudgingly.
okay. It was a very long movie. I'm just going to get this off the bat straight away. It was good, though.
It was great.
It was a very good film. It was a slow burn. There was a point, I'm just going to get straight out in the open now. We'll get to the details in a sec. I thought the movie would have been a lot better if they just cut one of the 3 men's storylines out completely.
Yes.
And then it kind of came together in the final 45 minutes to a point where I'm like, oh no, this movie doesn't make sense if the third character's not there. And it was actually a really important character, but he kind of like appeared, disappeared for a while, and then came back in strong. So I actually think all of it came together. I still think there's places you could, cut it down a bit, but the story needed to be told in that way.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
I agree with you for all of those things.
Yeah.
Including when we're watching the movie.
Yeah. So before we get into that plot and our thoughts, we're doing good. We're going really well.
No! It was... You're waffling.
God, I really got to take that call, but can we do a fadeaway?
No.
It's a work call.
Take your work call.
Okay. I missed it.
Fucking disaster. Right. After us having a long discussion about needing to get this podcast done and gone, classic example, work gets in the way. All right, work stuff sorted. You need to tell us what happened in 1946.
Okay, 1946, slow year compared to 1945. I'm going to be rattling up these facts fast. Okay, so Emperor Hirohito, I think. I can't read my writing.
Go for it.
Of Japan announces he is not a god.
What? Okay.
Yeah?
Yep.
Fun fact. Australia fact. First test cricket between Australia and New Zealand takes place.
Ooh, did we win?
I didn't find out.
Oh, man, classic.
Oops. Nuremberg trials take place. Involved 22 Nazi leaders. I think there were more, but involved at least 22 Nazi leaders. And I think half of them were executed.
Right.
Yeah.
Their trials were in the last episode as well, I think. Hard to remember. It was so many weeks ago.
Yeah. And, basically the end of World War II. Let's just conclude with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Great.
Right.
Don't you abuse that system.
I like my one of just yelling, shut up at you.
Okay.
Right.
Shall I keep driving us home?
Wait, you're going to take over? What about my 55 pages of notes?
Go on.
All right, I have a fact to drop in really quickly before we get started. Mm-hmm. All right, this movie was produced by Samuel Goldwyn, okay, after getting inspiration from an article he saw in the Times. Okay, do you recognize the name?
No.
Samuel Goldwyn,
No.
MGM. He's one of the founding people of MGM.
Who cares? This is the waffle I've been talking about.
Right, they've only won like half of the Academy Awards we've been talking about so far.
They're a movie studio. I'd expect him to have that eye for talent, or they wouldn't exist.
Yeah, but he started part of that company.
The movie studio, yes.
Right, anyways. There's a movie that we watched. Main characters' names are Fred, Al, and Homer.
Yep, so Al, this is how I remembered it. He's the old one, and by old I mean he's older of the three. I'd say he's in his 40s. He's been married for 20 years. He's got two kids that are, I think the boy's a teenager. The girl, she's probably 20 years old. We'll go with 20. So he's definitely in his mid to late 40s, I think.
Yes. Yep.
Cool. Then you've got Fred.
Yes.
Middle guy. He's like in his early 30s, I want to say. At the most.
Yes.
Right? At the absolute most. Probably like 30. And then there's Homer.
Yes.
He's the young kid. He's supposed to be like in his early 20s.
Yes.
Right? Maybe even like 2021. Like
Yeah.
max,
Hook
right?
hands.
Yes. He's the guy with hooks for hands because his arms got, well, no, not his arms, his hands got blown off. He still got his elbows. I was very appreciative of that.
Yes.
I tried to piece together how it happened. The only morsel they give you in the movie is that he kind of passed out when there was some attack, and I think his hands got really burnt, and they just lopped off his hands.
Yeah, his ship sunk. He was
But his hands
Navy.
got burnt. So
Yes.
you say ship sunk and then fire, as things don't marry up. So he definitely there's some kind of explosion, and his hands were crisp.
Yeah, it was probably somewhere in the middle there between the ship sinking and the fire.
But he was asleep. He was snoo-snooing. So
Yes.
okay, so lost his hands. So Homer, young, no hands. Fred, middle-aged. Well, not middle-aged, but middle of the ages of the three people.
Yes.
He also was the highest rank out of all three. He was in the Air Force.
Yes.
And he dropped bombs, basically, on
He was
Nazis
a
the whole
captain,
time.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
he
I
was
don't know why
dropping
they
bombs.
didn't make Homer a captain, because then he could have been Captain Hawk.
So, Homer, young, Navy, no hands. Fred, middle, highest rank, bomb people from
Bombardier.
Air Force.
Something. What's
Yeah.
it? Yep.
Al, older guy, general infantry,
Yes.
middle rank, so
Yes.
one beneath Fred,
Yes.
and he was in the infantry. So they really try to hit all bases. Some from the Navy, some from the Air Force, some from the general infantry.
Yes.
Cool. Those are our characters.
Right. I'm going to rattle this plot off.
Go.
All right. So we're opening scenes. We're in an airport. There's a man in uniform, Fred. Okay. He has no ticket and there's no availability to get a flight home. All right. So he walks across the airstrip, like underneath planes that are waiting to take off.
Yeah.
And he goes to the ATC, which is the Army Training Center. I'm going to say, anyways.
None of this matters.
Okay.
The three men get on a plane. They're going home.
No, let me introduce the characters properly. All right, so that's Fred's intro. We end up in the ATC. He's waiting for his flight. There's a sailor there in his sailor outfit. He's Homer. He's got hooks for hands.
We've been through this.
They both talk about how they've been on B-17s together. Basically, they both end up on a flight home. They're trying to get home to where they left from before the
war's
war.
over.
The war's over. Right?
Yeah, and
as they get on the plane, right, about to fly home, there's a guy named Al already sitting on the plane.
Yep.
Right, three instantly friends. They talk for the whole flight about their time in the war.
Yep.
I'm being pretty quick.
None of this matters. We already just told
That's like
about
17 minutes of the movie done already.
Yeah, but we already explained the characters. They all live relatively close to each other. They're going home. They're now friends because they flew home
Yes.
together. They're all been in the army. Boom.
All right.
They land in America.
No, there's more. Homer is talking about how he's worried what his girl is going to say when he gets home because she knows he doesn't have hands anymore, but he doesn't know how she's going to take that information. So
Of course.
she is quite worried about that. They fly over their hometown and they're reminiscing about the good old days.
Well,
Homer makes a comment about when they fly over the football field. I just remember how many forward passes I did there. And it's just iconic because he doesn't have any hands anymore. So no more forward passes.
Probably worth mentioning while you're rambling on as well that while he's talked about seeing his girlfriend again that he's engaged to, that Fred also mentions that he's been married, but for like 20 minutes because he basically got married, I think, while he's been back and forth in the army for the last few years.
Yep.
And he, on one of these trips home, wherever he was, met this girl now who's in the sort of the same living area as them,
Yep.
who was living with his parents at the time.
Yes.
I don't know, she must have come from somewhere else, doesn't matter. And then we find out that Al, the older fella's been married for 20 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So Al's been married for 20 years, Fred's been married for 20 minutes, and Homer is trying to get married. He's engaged.
Okay.
They land in America.
They land in America, right? They get out of the plane.
Yeah.
They get in a taxi.
Yes.
On the taxi ride home, they go past a bar called Butcher's Bar. That's going to come back to be
Very
important
important.
later. All right.
Yes.
I'm moving on. Homer is first to be dropped home. He doesn't want to go inside. He wants to go to the bar with a drink with his new friends, but they say, no, you've got to go and see your wife.
He's just nervous, yeah.
Gets out. Well, sorry, not his wife, his girlfriend. Sort of meets her. He's very awkward about not
Fiance,
having hands.
that's the word.
No, not fiance. They're not engaged. His girlfriend.
No, Homer is engaged.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, moving right along. She hugs him, but he doesn't hug her back. He's very shameful that he doesn't have any hands.
Yeah, he's almost trying to hide them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ow. He's home next. All right. Family's very excited to see him. Last person home, Fred. All right. Who's waiting for Fred at home? His mum and dad.
Yeah. Who were very happy to see him, by the way.
Everyone's going to complain about how fast we're talking.
Well, we got to get through some some fucking plot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
There's a page gone.
keep going.
All right. Al's giving stuff to his son.
Yep.
He's giving him a samurai sword, some Japanese flag that's been signed by the guy's family.
Yeah. He wasn't. The kid wasn't impressed.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but that's probably the early point, and there's a bit of a theme in the movie where, now that the war's over, there's some, opposing rhetoric and not propaganda maybe, but feedback from, groups that the war obviously wasn't good. We didn't have to get into it in the first place as an American. Like, we were dragged into the war, and now we're going to, all the costs of the war are slowly going to emerge, right? And,
Yes.
and I understand that because it obviously leads into, does it lead into the Great Depression?
I think so. I don't know. We'll know in a few more weeks.
Not a historian,
When we
but
research.
clearly the cost of war, even from like the human lives the Americans lost, now everyone's bickering about, why do we even go with the war? We got dragged into it.
Yes,
blah, blah,
yes,
blah.
yes,
So
yes.
all that sort of upheaval is happening at the moment, and it's coming into like the schools talking about, the use of nuclear weapons, even in Japan. So it seemed like even then they were talking about, it was unnecessary, maybe not unnecessary, but that's how awful the nuclear bombs were. So to see
Yeah.
Dad come home with the sword and the flag, the boys sort of talking about nuclear weapons and like, oh, okay, so there's a bit of tension in the American community.
Yeah, there's a sentence somewhere around that point where the dad's like, the world's going to need to learn how to get along. Because if nuclear war breaks out, it's over for everyone.
It's already starting to feel that way, yeah.
Basically, he's a bit. Al's a bit in shock about how much his kids have grown up while he was away, which has really hit home. He doesn't want to do anything apart from go out for a night on the town, which is good. All right? And they go out. They end up at Butcher's Bar, I think, get lit.
So he goes clubbing with the wife and the older daughter.
Yes.
Yeah, and they go to Butcher's Bar.
Yeah.
Where they encounter who?
Homer.
Yep.
And Fred.
So the reason Homer ended up there was it was back at the house with his parents, his fiance.
Yep.
And he spilled a drink.
Yeah, he drops his glass of lemonade.
Spilled a drink. He's now just like feeling embarrassed. Everyone's looking at him, looking at his own hands, and he just said, "I'm going to go for a walk." Goes to Butcher's Bar. So they're all having some time settling back in, right?
Yep.
And Fred, he ends up there because he can't find his wife because she's apparently working at nightclubs or a nightclub, and so works throughout the night, and so he can't get a hold of her, and he's just kind of going nightclub to nightclub trying to find her. He can't find her, gives up, and then goes to Butcher's Bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. While you were talking about Homer,
Yep.
About him dropping the glass, I did have a little fact to drop in. I'll be quick. Homer was played by a man named Harold Russell, was not an actor, okay? Was actually someone who lost their hands in World War II.
Oh, that's cool.
He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor and won. So he was the first non-actor to win Best Supporting Actor. He also was the first person to ever sell their award. He sold it in like the late 90s or early 90s to pay for some sort of treatment for his wife. He also won a second award for an honorary Oscar for adding aid and comfort to disabled veterans. And he didn't sell that Oscar.
Must admit, very good fact.
Yeah.
And look, don't take this the wrong way, Barrett and audience alike. He was definitely the weakest actor of all of them. He was not a great actor either. So I think some of this was, playing the sympathy card. But he did okay. But he just...
You're a monster.
Oh, look, I'm just calling a spade a spade. In some of his scenes and his monologues, he was struggling. But, fair play to him and his service and all the rest of it.
All right.
But he certainly didn't deserve to win an Oscar for any kind of acting. I'm just saying that.
2 Oscars.
Insane. But also, very impressed by his hooks. We got to talk about the hooks very quickly. So these hooks, still don't know how they work.
Yes, no idea.
But he's using them clearly he has been using them for a while and is a legit person who's had this happen to him because he knows his way around these hooks. And he's able to maneuver them and open and close them to pick up anything, really fiddly objects, cigarettes, glasses.
Lighting matches.
Yeah, he is an absolute wizard with these things.
Yeah.
But I still don't understand how he's opening and closing them.
No idea.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah. But
fair play to him. The only thing I presume is he's pushing one open and close with the other.
But I didn't see him doing that. It almost looked like he just had the ability to open and close them. It was really strange.
Yes.
Anyway.
Impressed by Homer Hook Hands. All right, so they're all drunk at Butcher's Bar.
Homer Hook Hands.
Homer Hook Hands. Right. They're all drunk at the bar. Al's family is going to take, who is it? Fred home. All right, Fred's already... We're going to summarize this really quickly. Being a little bit sweet on Al's daughter, whose name is Peggy.
Yes. And to be clear, all 3 of them are hammered.
Yes.
Hammered.
And it's not too creepy. We'll give it a 3 out of 10 for creepy on the scale of 1 to kissing your mum on the
I would give it a 2 for creepy. It was low level creepy.
Yeah.
But enough just to let you know that, he's sweet on it.
Yeah.
Also, just before they leave to go drop Fred home, because they're all tanked, so the Peggy, the daughter, and the wife of Al, they're going to drop him off. But just before they leave, there's also a scene worth mentioning with Homer and Homer's uncle. So Homer's uncle is the one that owns the bar.
Yes.
That's why they're all drinking for free, right?
Yeah.
And it's also a piano player. So he's there talking with Homer, who his family had called the uncle to say, where the hell's Homer? Have you seen him? So that was a bit of a good one-on-one chat around, look, Homer, people are going to be a little weird. They're adjusting. give them time. So it was a nice little chat. So Homer's kind of like, okay, on his way. He's going to go home and see if he can work this out. Meanwhile, Al and Fred are in the car.
Yep.
The wife and daughter are driving Fred to his missing wife's house.
Missing wife's apartment, yeah.
Boom.
Which is, it's late at night. He's drunk, can't get into the apartment.
Can't get in there. Wasn't even sure if it was the right one.
No.
So can't get in there. They're like, okay, well, we're going to give up on this. Just come back home. So they go back to Al's house.
Yes.
Al passes out in bed.
In Peggy's bed. Without Peggy in it.
No. Al passes out in his
Al
bed.
passes out in his bed, sorry.
Fred passes out. So they do intentionally put Fred into Peggy's bed so
Yes.
he can sleep, and Peggy sleeps on the couch.
Yes, perfect. All right. Peggy's woken up in the middle of the night by Fred having a nightmare.
Yes.
I assumed it was PTSD, but you corrected me and said it was called... Sorry, you got a mouthful of beer.
Sorry. So he definitely, they're showing the audience that, hey, he's got PTSD, all this other stuff from the war. However, back then they called it shell shock.
Shell shock, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if by then they were calling it PTSD.
Definitely, he's halfway through a plane crash, what he's talking about. He's
Yeah.
like, yep, jump, I see shoots, stuff that they would have been calling out to the navigator that runs down in the
So it's,
in the
and this
warplanes.
is the whole movie, right? It's trying to show them that, how difficult it is to readjust back into normal life after coming back from the horrors of war, right?
Yeah.
Now, Homer's dealing with no hands. Bloody Fred's dealing with, significant events that have obviously caused PTSD.
And a missing wife.
And a missing wife. And I think for Al, he was struggling to just be a husband again, be a father again, a lot of change, and he just felt out of place.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Fred wakes up hungover. Peggy cooks him breakfast. He can't remember much.
Yeah.
Al wakes up very hungover. So hungover, in fact, he hops in the shower with his pajamas on.
Yeah.
Peggy tries to take Fred to the apartment. Fred is bamboozled again by the door to the apartment. By the door to the apartment. And then realizes he can't get in, goes to get back in Peggy's car, only to see someone else walk up to the door and realize it's push, not pull. All right?
Yeah, and they're definitely still sweeting each other, right? And he was quite polite the next day at breakfast, oh, look, was I out of line? And she's like, no, you were fine. And, it was a nice morning. But he also drops probably the fucking best line I've ever heard come out of anyone's mouth in a while. They ought to put you in mass production.
Oh,
When he was talking about, Peggy and her being so nice and looking
Yes.
after him, letting him sleep in her bed. Thought that's great. So I know we've kind of just sit down on the podcast, but I'm gonna use that somewhere.
we could modernize it. You deserve to be Control C, Control V. I'll dong myself.
You grabbed the wrong can. Why are you struggling with the can
Fred.
system so much?
Fred,
You this, me this.
Fred,
Again, you got it wrong.
shut up. I like just yelling shut up at you. Fred has finally made it into the apartment after getting unbamboozled by the door.
Yeah.
And he finally gets to see his wife. What do we think about his wife?
About 12 seconds into her appearing on screen, pretty sure I looked over you and said, she's trouble.
Yes.
She's a fuck girl.
Not the original fuck girl, because we saw her on Wings. Small cough. Sorry, we're still sick. All right. So we see them get together. Cut back to this is going to do a lot of jumping and forth. I got to the point now with my notes where I write the person we're talking about and then a quick note about them. Al receives a phone call from the bank. They want him back at work.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of where my notes started too. So let's just get a few things out of the way. Homer doesn't have a job, but is on disability.
Yes.
He gets $200 a month from disability from the government forever now because his hands are missing.
Yes.
And because we were trying to work out what's a lot of money and what's not a lot of money. So I'll get to that in a sec.
Yep.
He's on $200 a month for disability. Then Fred, that's his name. Before he went to the war, he worked at a pharmacy. But especially for Australians, pharmacies are not like the pharmacies you're picturing. So the pharmacies in the States at the time appeared to be a mixture of, a counter like you would see at, Chemart. Not Chemart. What's the chemist here?
Chemist Warehouse?
Chemist Warehouse, that's the one. So, where there's the high up table and, the chemist and you get your drugs. Then there's a big section where it's like Maya, where everyone's selling perfume.
Yes.
And then there's a third section where it's like a bar.
A milk bar.
A milk bar where you get, chocolate sundaes and milkshakes and that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
So there's like three main parts of pharmacy. And if that was the makeup of every pharmacy in the United States, they've got it right. That's amazing. So he worked in there, and his primary role at that time was working behind the milk bars. He was just making sundaes and ice creams and stuff. That was his job.
Yeah.
So he wasn't really looking for a job because he was kind of like, seeing, what he could get and all the rest of it. But he ended up working back there. I'm going to cut to the chase a little bit for the sake of talking about money.
Ooh.
So he's on $32 a week.
$32.50.
Yep. A week working there. And that didn't sound like a lot of money, and it's not even a lot of money there, right? So he's on less than Homer was on disability.
Yes.
So he's making nothing. And Al, though, he works in a bank and has worked at the bank for forever. And I think he's always been on a good wicket, because if you look at his house compared to the place where Fred's staying and all that, like night and day. He's obviously loaded, right?
Yep.
And he gets promotion when he gets back, because they want him back immediately, and they want him in charge of small loans. And right early on,
like a VP job or something.
yeah, it's like a VP job, like approving small loans, really. And we kind of caught on, is he kind of trying to work the, veteran angle and things like that, to work with other veterans. Anyway, we thought, okay, there's something there that is playing at, and they kind of were. But he was put on $1,200 a month.
No, $12,000 per year. $1,000 a month.
Sorry, that's right, $1,000 a month.
Yeah, 12 grand a year.
So that's kind of the perspective. So he's like a high income earner.
Yep.
At $12,000 a year, it's $1,000 a month.
Yep.
Fred's making nothing, and Homer's not really making much more, but at least he's not really working.
Yeah. All right. So you've taken the next set of notes, which is perfect because we're cutting some of this out. The next thing that happens, so after all the job stuff happens, Fred moves him back home. He's trying to break his military identity, right? And he's struggling. He doesn't want to wear his military uniform out anymore, but his wife is hell-bent on him wearing it to get all the glory from him being this returned soldier. And
this is all them
she's
like
super shallow.
Oh, big time. She's terrible. And they're all just trying to adjust, right? Like, you've got Homer just trying to adjust his life without his hands, and his stuff with his fiancée has definitely gone cold. He's not let her in at all, and it seems to be that they're growing distant.
There's a dark scene, because it's literally the next thing in my notes.
Yeah.
He's in the shed and he's just shooting his rifle in the shed. And
because that's what you do.
Fiance comes in to see him, and there's a point where he looks down the barrel and it's like,
yeah, she's like super, super lovely. They're like high school sweethearts. And she's like trying to tell him, like, let me in. I'm, not afraid of the hand thing. Like, let me in. And he's just not having a bar of it, right? So he's really pushed her away. You've got Fred, who like really didn't want his old job back, and is making like money. So his self-esteem's going in the toilet, and he's just down on himself. He wants to distance himself from the army thing. His wife's certainly not helping, because she's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then Al, even though he's got this sweet job and everything looks fine, he's just having trouble going from, shooting Japs to, working back in a bank. Like, he just doesn't see the point of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Very much so. There's actually a scene that happens pretty much straight after that where Homer ends up, some kids are looking at him with his hooks on his hands, and he loses it and punches both hooks through a window, and then like immediately has to apologize to the kids, because one of them's like his, I presume, niece.
I think niece or cousin.
Yeah, niece or cousin or something like that. Yeah. We then cut back to Fred. We're jumping ahead a little bit here. He's been living it up for the last couple of months because he got some sort of payout when he left, or it was either money he saved up while he was in the Defense Force or something like that. But anyways, his wife just wants to live like an upscale life that they can't afford, and they've run out of money, right? So
because he had like a good chunk of money from when he was in the army.
Yeah.
And they just pissed it all away in the wind, going out and going to fancy dinners and living it up.
Yeah.
Because again, like Fred clearly worked at a milk bar before he went to the army, because he's got, milk duds for brains.
Yes. All right. We see next scene is Al. He's working at the bank, and he's giving out some risky loans. Some tomato farmer, which we never found an outcome for. I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, Kovac.
But he took a risk on a tomato farmer.
Because he was a veteran.
Yeah.
So took a chance on him because he was a veteran, even though he had no collateral.
Yes. No collateral.
No collateral.
That's going to come back a little bit later.
No collateral. Also, my notes here tell me this happened right around the same time where Peggy, who hadn't seen Fred in a while, went into the pharmacy to see Fred now that he'd been working there, right? And some time had passed.
Yeah.
And, Fred and her get talking again. You can still see they're flirting and, they still obviously like each other.
Yep.
Fred asks her to lunch.
Yes.
So they go get lunch. They have a great time, la-di-da. And obviously Fred fucking hates his wife because she's a bitch.
Oh, yes.
And although he shouldn't have done this while he was married, kissed her outside of the place they had lunch.
Yeah, really nice lunch together.
Yeah.
Walking into a car, kisses her, and then says the sentence, "That shouldn't have happened, but I guess it had to."
Just wants to put her in mass production.
Yeah. Control C, Control V. It's going to catch on.
You've ruined it. You've ruined a beautiful state.
Peggy turns around and invites Fred and his wife out to dinner with her
Same
boyfriend.
day.
The same day.
Yeah. So we find out that, okay, so Al and his wife have picked up that Peggy's obviously in love with Fred, and they're talking about it. And she's done this because she thinks, seeing them together and all the awkwardness and I don't know, that just scene will shake her away from liking Fred. She doesn't want to like Fred because she knows he's married.
Yes.
And all the rest of it.
All right. The next notes are hilarious,
Jesus
and
Christ.
we need to spend a little bit of time talking about this. Al, still struggling to... Oh, you all right?
Just the sickness.
The sickness, right. So...
This is our commitment to our followers that we're still doing this recording.
All right, so Al's still struggling to set back into normal life. And because of... I don't know if it's because of his risky loans or something. He ends up having to do this speech about what the bank's target is. I presume it's to investors or something. I wasn't really paying
It was
attention.
the trade union.
Okay, wasn't really paying attention, but he had to do a speech essentially.
Yeah,
and
a bunch of co-workers and, the banking community.
Yes,
That's what it is.
okay. He's had a few drinks, right? So much so.
The wife, who clearly she's always had a drinking problem and she's known this well, she's marking with a knife on the tablecloth.
Yes.
How many drinks is having, so she knows when to step in.
Yes.
Or when to be concerned.
And he tells this great story about managing risk and
Yeah, it was a roller
having
coaster.
collateral, and he was shooting, he's shot himself like in the foot, and then he's back on track, and then he's back shooting himself in the foot again.
Because his boss is sitting right next to him, right? Who, thinks the world of him, even though that kind of fuck up. But he let it go, the thing with the tomato farmer.
Yeah.
And let the loan go through anyway. But that was kind of his last chance sort of thing. And anyway, yeah, like you said, he starts this speech out and he's thrown his boss and the bank under the bus. He's like going hard and thinking, oh no, he's hit the self-destruct button. And boy, does he claw it back.
Yeah, because during this speech, he starts going on about something about his experience in the military, or his experience in the bank helped him in the military because his sergeant told him to take this hill, but he didn't have the collateral to take the hill, but his sergeant said to take the hill, but he said, I don't have the collateral to take the hill. And then we didn't take the hill, and we lost the war.
Yeah. I love that. I wrote that down too. I said to the major, no collateral, no hill. Sorry, major, and we lost the war. Love that.
But he pulled the speech together at the last minute, nailed it.
Nailed it. Made it about them being more than a bank, and then we're going to help the little guy out because that's what we should do for the sake of America. And he put the little, patriotic flair to his speech to avoid, any wrath from anyone, because how do you go against that?
Yes.
And he just saved it. Just saved himself.
Yes. All right. This is jumping around a little bit because the movie does just jump between character and character.
Yeah.
Whilst Al is making his drunk speech, Peggy, Al's daughter, is out at dinner with Fred's wife, and Peggy's boyfriend. All right? And Fred does not regret the kiss. And that's made quite apparent. They have a awkward night together, let's put it that way. There's a photo taken,
Yeah, I love the scene where she goes to the bathroom with Peggy, Fred's wife, and the sign on the door says ladies. And she goes to Peggy, well, we'll just use this one anyway. And they go in there.
I just ignore the sign.
I just ignore the sign. We'll go in anyway. And I'm like thinking, she's real trash for the 40s. And Barrett's there like, I don't get it. It said ladies. They're ladies.
Maybe I'm just too nice. Nice guys finish last. That's what I've learned in life. Anyways, I'm bleeping that. That's getting cut.
I'm getting bleeped for that.
Yes.
What do you mean?
No, you're not saying that.
I'm getting bleeped.
Yeah. All right.
Well, we really are back.
Peggy gets home and she tells her mum and dad that she's going to break Fred and his wife up because she loves him. Right? Al does not take this news well. And he takes Fred to Butcher's bar. Told you the bar's going to be important later. And asks him if he's in love with Peggy. All right? He says yes. And then Al turns around and convinces Fred not to see her anymore.
Yeah. So, Fred's got some honor in all this, right? So immediately goes to the phone booth, makes up some story to her that, hey, we can't see each other anymore. And he's gutted, you can tell. Buggers off home. Again, there's some running around, but let's just see this one through for a second. Goes back to the apartment where his wife is. There's another guy there who obviously his wife's banging. And he's just like, this altercation with him. The other guy goes to wait outside. And she just says, I want a divorce. And he's like, well, yeah, fucking clearly.
Yeah.
And so basically just packs up his suitcase and says, I'm out. And he's going to go leave. He's going to leave the area, fly somewhere else. He doesn't even know where to start again because his life's gone to shit. He lost his job. And I think you need to talk about that.
We're getting to that. I think you've jumped just to...
It's hard because it's three separate story parts.
I wasn't going to pull you up. It's a little bit ahead, but
yeah.
We'll just talk about that when we get to it. Where he loses his job because it's coming up soon.
So Fred, he's spat the dummy. He did lose his job. Yeah, he's now lost his wife. He doesn't want her anyway. He's packed up his stuff. He's leaving and has told Peggy we can't be together.
Yeah, this is the moment that Alex said, "Man, they could cut this movie right down without Homer being in it." Right?
I was right.
And he I agreed with you at the time.
Because this is just really not him at all. A good hour, whereas it's not in it.
And they just put Homer back in this exact scene. That's why I'm reminded. Where he's learning to play the piano with his hooks. You play one note at a time. All right.
He was good.
He was, yes. Very good. Man, that guy has some talent.
Where is he now?
Dead. I wonder where his hooks are.
I don't want to get bleeped again, so I'm not going to say anything.
I wonder if we could buy them for the podcast. Anyways, Fred tells Peggy that they can't see each other anymore. She does not take that well. Right?
Yeah, she's quite upset.
Fred is at work. Okay, this is the bit where he loses his job. Right? He's working in the milk bar. A random guy comes in, and then Homer walks in. The random guy that walks in starts going on about how the war was a sham and all of this stuff and read the paper. And
we got dragged into the war.
We got dragged in, all this stuff. Homer gets that wound up that he gets his hook and rips the buttons clean off the shirt of this guy.
No, it wasn't a button. The guy had a little American flag on his jacket. And with his hooks, he just goes, boop, and just pops it straight off his jacket.
Right. So then there's a fight about to break out. But Homer can't punch him because he has these little hooks for hands. So Fred steps in and knocks him out.
The claw.
The claw. Right. Fred loses his job for punching this guy in the face. All right. As you've already alluded to, Fred then goes on to break up with his wife and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And it probably just to Al's storyline a little bit, while Peggy's having a meltdown because, Fred, told her it's over and blah, blah, blah. It did come out that Al and his wife had many problems over the 20 years they've been together, right? Because Peggy was just trying to say that they don't understand and you guys have had the perfect life. And Al and his wife were just like, well, hey, we've not. Like, we've had to, fall in and out of love many times before. We've had heaps of problems. Like, we just worked it out and stuck it through, but it's been far from perfect.
Yes, yeah. Definitely.
So they've all had their stuff.
Yep. All right. We're almost on the home straight. I'm also on the last page. We are punching this movie out.
We're good.
3 hours. Homer and his girlfriend have a big chat. All right? And he ends up inviting her up to the bedroom. Not for what you'd think, but to see him take his hooks off. Right? He then explains, which was quite a meaningful moment, how helpless he is once he takes his hooks off. So
he was being properly vulnerable.
Yeah, he's worked out this way he can kind of flick the straps off because they're all strapped over his shoulders and things like that.
Yeah.
But once they're off, he explains if there's a fire, I can't open the door.
Yeah.
I can't put my hooks back on. I can't do anything without them.
He's saying to her I want because he does love her, right? He's just trying to say I want better for you, or you don't have to deal with this. And, because she's saying, like, if you don't let me back in, my parents are sending me away because, you're so close and not letting me in, and blah.
Yeah.
So, he's trying to say, like, I'm doing this for you because I care about you. I don't want you to have to deal with all this. So he's trying to, like, be ultra vulnerable and show how hopeless he is to say, like, do you really want this? Do you really want this?
Great scene.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Was a great scene. And Wilma, because she's just a jet, she was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
And I won't know if I can handle it if I don't try.
Yes.
I was like, wow, what a woman.
Puts him to bed, kisses him,
Yeah.
tucks him in, and what's she do when she leaves the room?
Leaves the door open two is how they call it. I learned this from someone.
Ajar?
No, they don't use a jar. Leave it to, people say. Anyway, it's a thing. Anyway. Yep. So he could get out if he needs to.
Yeah.
But she's the MVP of this movie. Wilma's a jet.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
You compare her to, like, Fred's wife? Jeez.
You compare anything to Fred's wife.
Well, I don't know. You can. Anyway, again, let's keep going.
Right. All right. Anyways, the note here is Fred comes home, guy in his apartment, divorce, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
We've already talked about that stuff.
So he's left now. He's gone to the airport. Nearest flight's at X time. He goes and he's wandering this basically plane graveyard from World War II, seeing the old planes that he rides on.
It is crazy, those scenes.
So many planes.
Like engines. So it's engines and propellers stacked on the ground.
Yeah.
Must be thousands of
As
them.
far as the eye can see.
And then plane, like there would be like P-51 Mustangs and
Yep.
there's big planes, probably like B-17s or something like that. Just all their engines removed, all like stripped out. There's a weird scene where he gets up inside a plane for a while and it's really dusty, but it's only 1 year after the war.
Yeah,
so.
real dusty.
Yeah.
But he also has like another sort of thing of PTSD. Because they explain like a plane went down, he lost one of his friends, and that's what's caused some of that PTSD. But anyway, a guy calls him out of the plane. It's just like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, look, I used to fly these. It's, I'm just chewing up time basically for the plane. And then Fred's like, do you have any work for me?
Yes.
And the guy's like, well, do you know anything about construction? And they're like, well, no, but I can learn. I just the same way I learned to fly one of these, and well, not fly, but to bomb things out of that.
Yeah.
And so he gets a job there in like construction, whatever they're doing over there. So he finally gets a bit of a new lease on life.
Yeah.
Which is good. And then, so we're starting to get good ends to these storylines. So Homer ends up with Wilma. You've got Fred ends up at least with a job. Great.
Yeah.
Al retains his job, seems to be happy with his wife, and they're moving forward. Then what does it skip to?
Let me punch this out. Where we got a guy who's getting ready to play Here Comes the Bride for a wedding. I don't know what's going on.
Hang on. I did. It's just Barrett that didn't.
All right.
So it's Homer's wedding, okay? He's now getting married to Wilma, so some time has passed.
I now know.
Not a huge amount of time, but some time.
I want to clarify I worked it out all on my own without you telling me.
No, you didn't.
Right, anyways.
You literally saw the bride and said, who's that? And I said, Wilma.
It's in black and white. Everyone looks the same. All right, so we're at a wedding. Fred runs into Peggy. The wedding ceremony is going on, and those two are just eye locked.
Yeah.
Anyways, what happens? What happens between them?
So they're staring at each other while the ceremony's taking place. Homer and Wilma get married. Real sweet. Everyone crowds around Homer and Wilma to congratulate them. And then Fred, because he's just a stallion, just walks up to Peggy and just starts making out with her.
Perfect. So Fred and Peggy, happily ever after. Wilma and Homer, happily ever after. And Al's been pretty happy reasonably happy the whole time.
But it was like something important to note. Peggy never cared about the fact that he made no money and all the rest of it. And as he's kissing in the final scene, Fred's saying, we'll have to work, together for everything. Well, I don't have anything. I don't have any money. It's going to take years before we get out of this rut, basically.
Yeah. And
she's just smiling. She doesn't give a shit because she only likes Fred. And it was real sweet.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
We knocked that plot out.
Jesus.
Like, I'm looking at my watch. We're only coming up on 55 minutes now. And you took a 10-minute hiatus for some sort of business call.
Yeah. So we'll cut that out. It was sweet.
Yeah. Right.
But, okay.
I have some facts. I have 3 facts that we...
Rattle them off. Go.
I don't care if they're your facts as well. I'm going to steal them. All right. This was the highest grossing film of the time since Gone with the Wind.
Wow.
Bang. All right. It was written by Robert Sherwood, who was contracted to write it. Also wrote Rebecca, which is an interesting fact when you said we were flicking through some of the movies we'd watch, reminiscing of the good old days when we used to podcast together. And you said, oh man, like you called out how good Rebecca was because we were telling our friend on which movies you should watch. It had, like, I don't know if this is how you normally say it because this is normally your bit and I'm stealing it. Mm-hmm. Normally you tell us how many nominations the movie had for an award. Do you count like actor nominations and anything to do with the movie as a nomination, right?
If it's an Academy Award, yeah.
Yes. 10 nominations, won 9.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
Wow. That's amazing.
What have you got?
Well, I had the nominee one. You already taken that.
Was it 10 and 9?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
But look.
Welcome to the Barrett podcast.
It was hard to, right? At the start, I guess we kind of both mentioned it to each other. Someone's coming through the door. That's annoying.
Yeah. How quiet will they be?
We'll find out. I guess when we started watching the movie, we were already thinking, oh, this is a long movie. This is going to hurt. And then we started watching, we thought, oh, is this one of those movies that's just, going to talk about the war, and because the war had just happened, it's just going to be like, appealing to that target audience at that time, and it's actually not going to be a very good movie just because it's about war means it's good kind of thing.
Yes.
But no. It was long, but it came together. You can't get rid of any of the storylines.
No.
And it was a good movie. Yeah. It's one of the better movies I think we've watched.
I would give this movie 5 out of 5 for watchability.
I wouldn't, but I thought it was a good movie.
What would you do for watchability? 4.5 out of 5?
We don't rate things out of watchability. What's watchability?
No, but like, okay. Yeah, it happened one night. 5 out of 5 for you can sit down and watch that movie and enjoy it. This movie, you can sit down, watch and enjoy. Like some of the disasters we've watched, or, some of the movies have been relatively good, but they're long and painful.
I would say watchability 3.5.
This didn't hurt watch.
It didn't hurt. It hurt a little at the start. It was long.
Even Gone with the Wind, like a good movie, but it hurt a bit to watch. It was long.
Yeah.
This
was good.
This and It Happened One Night are the top watchability films that we've seen.
It was a surprising package. It really was. Oh. Like it talked about, some themes that I think would have been quite controversial at the time.
Yes.
To talk about PTSD, to, talk about, the negatives of coming back from war and war itself.
Yes.
To talk about some of the, the anti-war sentiment at the time, even up they'd just come out of winning the war. I think all that would have been ballsy at the time.
Yeah.
So I give it extra credit for that too. Like it was just overall a good movie.
Yeah.
And I felt like as well that for the most part in these movies, all the women have generally been portrayed as either just real dumb, but generally they're like sweet and innocent and like kind-hearted and not evil, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like with Fred's wife, you kind of got the first glimpse of she's just an absolute bitch. Like all the movies we've watched, like I can't think of any other female character that was like a bitch.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like she was genuinely just like one of the main female characters who was just despicable and thought, oh, okay, this is like the first time I think I've seen that in these movies.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
How many Alexes out of Alex are you giving this film? We're going to wrap this podcast up? Oh, you're writing it down again. I already know my score.
All right. I'm giving it 4 Alexes out of 5.
Oh! That's
like
a solid score. I rated it just a hair lower, which I'm now regretting my last score because I think I just went too hard on the last movie because I got back from holidays and didn't really know what was going on anymore. And
did we record since you've been back?
yes, once.
What was it? Was I there?
Yes, you were there.
No.
What was it? Nope, don't know.
Can't remember like my side hustle podcast.
Oh, it was the alcoholic movie.
I forget.
And we've drunk too much since between then and now. I've had my birthday between now and then, and we got a little bit drunk for that as well. There's another reason why we didn't record. You didn't put that on your... Oh, wait, that just makes it more my fault. Anyways.
Square root of 17. Carry the 4. Barrett's fault.
All right. I give it a 3.5.
Okay.
Because I thought about this on the way home from work, and I think... I can't retract the score, but I think I just went too hard on the last movie. The alcoholic movie.
It's pretty rare that I rate a movie higher than you too.
Yeah. But watchability, 5 out of 5.
Good movie.
Yeah.
Well, Barrett, welcome back. Who knows when I'll see you again?
Yeah. Maybe we'll record a podcast again. Maybe we'll never see each other again.
Maybe we won't. But
one can only hope.
The best years of our lives, 1946. So I think it surprised the both of us. Good movie. Holds up surprisingly well.
Yeah, go watch it.
Would recommend.
Yes. Also, Rocky Rich,
Oh,
you enjoy your beer?
could be a sponsor, but isn't.
Freestyle Brewing, also fantastic beer. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Oh, this is sensational. Josh, you were right.
Until next time.
See you, everyone. Dun, 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 dun.